Welcome to Toffee TV. Today I am joined by Tony Sampson, all the way from Chicago. Since I last spoke to Tony, which was just before the Fans Forum vote, he was elected on after it. So here he is, the first time I've spoke to him as a fully elected member of the Fans Forum, and all the way from Chicago. Tony, how are you?
Hiya, Baz. Yeah, great. Thanks, mate. Very grand introduction, that. But yeah, no, yeah, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
We're sort of trying to work through this sort of strange environment like everybody else. But everyone's healthy and getting on with it. So kids are getting used to e-learning. I'm getting used to working from home. So yeah, we're all good. Thanks.
All good. I mean, what's it like over there? Is it you're on lockdown? Is it very strict? Is it, you know, obviously ours have just has eased slightly this week, and although I think some people think it's all gone now, but what's it like over there?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit similar actually. I think this is like week 8 for us in terms of lockdown.
Mm.
And the cases in Illinois have been relatively high.
Okay.
But the governor here has sort of acted quite early to sort of try and put the lockdown in. So again, I think we're seeing signs of maybe a little bit of relaxation, but officially, we're still on lockdown. We've got to wear masks in the supermarkets
Okay.
and that sort of stuff. So I think in the next couple of weeks we'll probably get an update on that. My kids, they won't be going back to school before the summer. So the school districts decided that. So they're delighted. But as I say, sort of just like everybody else, trying to work through it all.
All right, let's get on to business. Let's move away from the chat that seems to be on every, and rightly so. But let's talk about something else. So since like I said at the very start there, I spoke to you pre-vote and pre-election, and you got in, you were elected, which is fantastic news. And I've attended in person a fans forum meeting. Is that right? Since
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what was
Yeah.
that like then? What was it like going in and attending as part of the fans forum?
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, it was the end of February, and
Right.
I was fortunately back in. I was in Liverpool, sort of visiting my mum and dad. I was there for the United game, so it was great to be able to be there. Yeah, I know. It was great to be able to be there in person. And it was brilliant because obviously I thought that I'd be doing most of the meetings like this.
Yeah.
But to be there for the first one and meet the rest of the forum was great. And also there was another international representative voted on as well, Joe O'Reilly. So Joe was actually in Dublin, so he videoed in. But yeah, getting to know people, getting to sort of try and understand a little bit how it all works, and who's focused in on what, and meet some of the people was great. And there was there was a few other newbies as well. So yeah, being there physically for the first one was a good start.
It was good. I mean, Joe, we've had Joe on the show a while ago when he was over. He's a lovely fella, Joe. Very, very enthusiastic Evertonian. So
He's brilliant.
that's really good. And there's a new chair as well. Jazz was voted, wasn't he, as the new chair? So, fresh,
Yeah.
almost like a fresh form, or certainly a fraction of it is fresh, isn't it, with the new people
Yeah,
as well?
no, that's definitely right. And Jazz sort of, there was a couple of areas he said to the forum that he wanted us to focus on, with him as chair, in terms of sort of maybe doing a little bit more around some of the communications and focus on engagement. So he sort of gave us a good message there. But there's a really nice blend of some people that have been on the forum for for a bit longer, Jazz included, Nick Mernick, and also Lisa Vaughan. So they've been in and around, so sort of know how it works, sort of the wise hands, if you like. And then others in I think 4 or 5 of the newbies. So I think it's good, and what I saw was, and I've seen since, is 15 Evertonians that are dead passionate, and have got some forthright opinions on a lot of issues, and are prepared to take that on. So that was great. And ever since we had a meeting actually a couple of weeks ago, was the second one. We didn't have one in March because it wasn't long after sort of the pandemic was rolling out. But what we have done is like different working groups that actually get the work done. So they've all been meeting, or some of them have been meeting, via Zoom and via WhatsApp and all the rest of it in between. So the work's still been going on.
So essentially, they're all doing what you do, which is dial in. So it won't feel like you're doing anything different, really, will it? Because obviously everybody's been up to now in the same boat, like you said. I think in terms of the forum, it probably needed freshening up. I think that's a fair assumption. And I think from a fan's perspective, looking at it outside to the forum, because obviously we don't know what goes on there. So I think just as a neutral person looking at it, I think it's really important that that's almost fed back to the fans a little bit more, I think, rather than, not saying anyone was being secretive, but I just don't think it was anything was getting out what was being discussed, really. So I think doing things like this, certainly, and I think it's interesting just to find out what actually goes on. So what went on in your first meeting when you were there face to face?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a legacy, and look, as I said, Jazz has been sort of very clear that he wants to sort of really focus in on sort of how we're engaging with the fan base, and as I say, do a little bit more around some of the communications. And there's actually been a few developments on that I don't even notice, but we've just started doing our own podcast.
Oh, okay.
Which has been published. So we're only on the second episode of that. The first one was a little bit of an introduction to the forum itself, the members, and sort of how we work. So I think that's recognised. That's something that we can continue to do more on. So I think that's good. I mean, some of the issues that we talked about in the first meeting, I mean, there were sort of legacy issues from sort of the previous term, if you like. But we had a healthy exchange around the end of term, end of season Dixie's awards, and what we felt was relevant there. Obviously, in light of what's happened since, I think that what's going to happen there is going to be impacted by by the events. And then there was an introduction, a bit of a readout on some of the other working groups. So there's a group that focuses in on some of the retail issues and the merchandising issues that fans have raised with us. So there's the people have been working on, and then from our perspective, Joe and I were quite keen to sort of get out the block. So when we were doing the election campaign, we heard a lot about how some of the international fans in particular felt they didn't necessarily sort of have a consistent voice, at least. So we proposed in that meeting then to do a survey of the international fans. So for the first time. So yeah, we wanted to sort of get that moving pretty quickly. So yeah, that was a little bit about the first one.
Excellent. I mean, we've seen that the information about the survey come out. I think it's massively important because obviously, I'm something like 3 or 4 miles from Goodison Park, and that's great. But there's Evertonians all over the world, so I think it's important that their voice is recognised as well. As I think for a number of years, and this isn't anything to do with the fans forum, not even necessarily anything to do with the club, but I think for a lot of years we prided ourselves on being insular. Most of us live within 5 miles of the ground, and we were made up to win that league table where the most supporters for any club live with, and all that. But I think we have to recognise as we go forward, we need fans from all over the world. We've seen that with the other lot across the park. We give them stick for years about the day trippers and all that, but they're the people who, prop the club up everywhere else by spending money and spreading the name of it. And I think now more than ever, particularly because Liverpool are doing really well and have got a really good side, so it's easy to pick fans up along the way when you're doing well. So I think now more than ever, the message of spreading the name of Everton I think it's a huge thing that we need to really kind of capitalise on. So the likes of you and Joe starting that off, I think, is massively important.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And look, I'm a Scouser. I'm born in Liverpool. The roots of the club and the origins of the club are never going to change. And that's always going to be the case. But I think you're right. I think football's changed, hasn't it? And it's been changing. Some will argue for the better, some for the worse. But what we've seen is that sort of global nature of and the evolution of football. Even just the sort of the number of foreign players that are involved, and you look at our own squad, you look at our manager. So I think what that does is it creates different types of opportunities, and the job for the fans forum is to represent the entire fan base. And we have a very, very strong, deep-rooted fan base, in every corner of the world. So, if we're gonna live up to the mantra of represent the fan base, then I think we've got to give them a voice, and that's what Joe and I are going to try to do, and that doesn't doesn't take any of the impact around those Blues that are from the city or are in the UK, because they will continue to have the same representation, but that's why me and Joe are focused on this, is to give those Blues that follow their team, whether they're like me that have moved away from the city, or whether they've chosen Everton, an opportunity to to feel connected and and be involved. And I don't think that you can claim to represent or be the voice of certain parts of the fan base unless you ask them, well, what matters to you. And that's what we're trying to do with the survey, is to get a little bit more insight into really first of all, do they want to be involved? How do they want to be involved? What are the issues that are important to them? Because I think they are different. They're different to you living around the corner from Goodison.
Yeah.
And then also, how do they want us to make sure we can keep them sort of connected and feed in their ideas? So, look, this is a starting point for that, and the response so far has been positive. I think we had this chat last time. I think Evertonians just want to be listened to. So that hopefully we're starting to do that.
Yeah, at the moment it'll be scratching the surface, won't it? Well, you start, but it's what builds from that. And you're right, representation massively important. I think making people feel close to the club when they're not round the corner is a big thing. And obviously there's that. One builds two and two builds three. The more Evertonians we reach and people see it, there's a ton of Evertonians out there who don't know they're Evertonians at the moment, and they're waiting to be grabbed. We spoke about this, I think, the first time we spoke with the Premier League, particularly in places like the United States. It's huge. It's growing all the time, and there's a lot of fans being you're able to collect fans along the way, and Americans are very different the way they look at sports, I think, to the way we do, is that they'll follow a team because of a kit, or they'll follow a team because they've had an American player who played there and they like the look of that, or they like the history of it. So I think it's massively important, not just in America, obviously, for Joe in Ireland and for international fans everywhere. So I think that's a massive thing that you're doing, and hopefully, like I say, we will collect more fans along the way, which will continue to spread the name of Everton, which means that all the good stuff that goes with that as well. What was your second meeting like then? The one like this, basically. So you've attended the first one, and then you're on to a second one remotely, with obviously everyone being in the same boat then. So was it really more about getting this survey out to the people, and was that one of the big things? And what other points was discussed? Is there any insight there from that next meeting that you could give us?
Yeah, sure. So from an international perspective, what we did at that meeting was share that we'd actually published the survey that day.
Right,
so,
yeah.
in a fairly sort of short space of time, we'd sort of moved it from just an idea to actually getting it out there. So, Joe and I were able to update the group around sort of the approach on that. So what we've done is we've spoken to a lot of the supporters clubs in that period, one, just to give them a heads up that this is something they want to do, and get a bit of feedback from them as to, is it going to be worthwhile? Do they want to do it?
Yeah.
So that helped then inform sort of the survey, the detail of that. And we pushed it out through the supporters clubs, so through their leads, so they'll get an opportunity to do that. And then others have proactively reached out. I mean, the day that it went out, I got emails from New Zealand, I got emails from South Africa.
Brilliant.
So it was you could see the response there. And the other thing as well we talked to the forum about was Joe and I have decided to sort of split the geographical responsibility. Because it's outside of the UK, it's quite a big place.
A little bit.
Exactly. So Joe's the lead for and the contact for the overseas Blues in Europe.
Okay, yeah.
So that's people then know who they can go to, where they want to raise things, and I'll be the same. I'll do the same job, but for North America and then the rest of the world. So again, hopefully people now have got a point of contact that they can go to, and that's sort of working well. And we've sort of divided and things up there that way to to keep that moving forward. So that was one of the things we just wanted to sort of update people on that. I mean, other things that we've done as well, where I think the club's been has done a lot to sort of engage with the fan base during this period. I think you've seen through the Blue family and communications from the CEO and stuff. So we were also sort of working with the club for them to do that with some of the international supporters clubs. So, the chief executive wrote to all of the supporters clubs as well as the UK based and those that are based in Liverpool. So again, that was good. There was something about the Blue Family campaign maybe we can come on to in a bit, Baz, as well, because Joe and I have also been working about extending that into the US as well. So we can maybe touch on that in a minute. So from an international base, that was what we talked about. And again, just to be clear, sharing the information around what we talk about in these meetings is part of what we want to do. So, the details in the minutes of what's discussed there, are published on the Fans Forum website, so everyone can access those.
Yeah.
But we've been talking and thinking about, there are different ways in which we can maybe be a bit more proactive in getting that out. And this is what we're doing now, but also through the podcast. So, people can go and see that. It did actually also coincide with one of the big Premier League meetings as well around Project Restart. So it was a few days before that. So again, we took the opportunity there to give the feedback that we'd seen, observed, and also had, from some of the fan base, some of the polls around, what was the sense of feeling around Project Restart. So, we gave that perspective and fed that into the club, and it was largely based on, the safety concerns, not just the players, but, the support staff, the management staff, the emergency services, the implications of players having access to PPE equipment when actually, there appears to be a sort of, potential shortage of that for first responders. So, we were able to sort of, feed that into the club, and they told us that, that went to, senior levels within the club who were going to be at the meeting, and that would be part of the representation they made. So, there was a range of issues, but it was a good opportunity for us to feed in and the views that we'd heard from the Everton fans.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got Germany restarting this weekend, and the UK are apparently 4 weeks behind or whatever. We're looking at a start date anywhere between June 12th and June 19th at the moment. That seems to be the date. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Obviously, the thing, the first and foremost is the health and safety issue. That's the massive
Absolutely.
thing. But it is going to come back. Let's not, in my opinion, I think we've seen enough and heard enough that the money at stake dictates whether it comes back, and I think there's too much money, quite simply, for it not to come back for these 9 games, rightly or wrongly. What you, not so much the no, the behind closed doors. That's a given at the minute. No one would want to go and wouldn't be allowed to go and sit in a football stadium. But was anything discussed? I think it's probably too early for this discussion to have had. But people are asking us, with Toffee TV, what's happening with this and what's happening with that, and we haven't got a clue. We're season ticket holders like everyone else, so we're waiting to see what's happened. But there's a very real possibility now, isn't it, that we're not going to be back in Goodison Park, potentially not at all next season. I know they're saying January, it looks like, but that's in the winter, and at the minute, predictions are this might have spiked again in the winter. We don't know; it might not. We're just following information. So, I mean, was there any kind of discussion around the possibility of no supporters at Goodison Park for the whole of next season, or was it just too early when you had your meeting that hadn't really come out?
It was a different stage of sort of where we were in the on the place there. I mean, there had been some debate at the time, sort of sort of outside of the forum, just generally sort of in the media, on social media, around is football the same without having fans in the stadium. So I mean, I think some of those things have been shared with with the club, but I think what you just said there, it just shows the level of uncertainty around what is going to happen, what isn't going to happen, the different interests that are involved. You've mentioned the financial interests there from the Premier League and other parts. I mean, in the last sort of 2 weeks, I've seen different perspectives from players, from the leading medics within the clubs, from the clubs themselves. So, I think, your analysis around it looks as though it's coming back, and obviously other leagues are doing that. It looks as though, that's happening, but there seems to be that many unknowns around how it can work. Will it work? Will it be the same? That I think that, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure anybody knows right now.
No. I mean, Germany will very much be the roadmap for them, won't it? They'll look.
Completely.
We've got 4 and 5 weeks to look at it. If it's going okay in Germany, then it'll be a case of rinse and repeat here, and rightly or wrongly, they will have access to testing and stuff that has come from a private firm, has been bought in, and they'll have the temperature taken. We're seeing lots and lots of procedures having to be in place for football to return. So it's going to be a very, very it's a watch, wait and see, really, isn't it? Let's be honest about it as we move forward. But I think you'll have some points at future meetings with regard to what's happening with people who've already paid for the season tickets, what's happening with season ticket money, what's happening with next season. People have already started to pay direct debit for next season. So what happens with that money if we're not allowed in stadiums? And I'm sure these will all be points that the fans forum will have to deal with, because it's the voice of the fans, isn't it, at the end of the day, with the club. So,
Yeah, definitely, and that is one of the issues that that we have been we've been talking to the club about. So earlier on, again in the sort of pandemic, we were actively talking to them around what they do on sort of season ticket renewal deadlines and what have you. And obviously, the club decided to to push that out. We were actively talking to them about sort of the merits of that. Even last week we did a poll around what's the preferences of fans that have got season tickets. Should there be a refund? Would they want to donate any refund to Everton in the community, for example? So we polled that with fans last week, and we've actually gone back now with sort of 4 options, to the club to say, look, this is what we've heard. Here's 4 areas that you might want to think of. Whether there should be a direct refund, whether you want to split, or whether you might want to have a credit arrangement so you can use it for
against
next season. Exactly. Or if you want to split the money between a refund and some to EITC. So again, that's how we reached out to the fan base to get their views on that. So again, we've fed that back into the club.
Yeah, I mean, it is. We're in a situation at the moment, unprecedented times, as we keep hearing, and it is. Everyone's kind of feeling the way around this, because we've never seen anything of the like in our lifetime, and hopefully it'll never be seen again. Something like this. So it is. It's a challenge, isn't it? That has thrown itself up. And one that, as a new member of the fans forum, you possibly weren't expecting to be as involved in it, or maybe you were at the time because you knew that what was happening. But it is you could have been on the fans forum a different year, and none of this would have ever been discussed.
But look, but I think it's good, and I think it's it's a good way for us to engage on issues like this. I mean, there's been, as you said, there's been no more testing time from this. And one of the things that I've been dead impressed with as well is how Evertonians have rallied throughout this process around each other. So we talked a little bit before about how the club had done some through Blue Family and in the community and stuff, but even on social media and other forums, the way in which I've seen Evertonians rally around businesses that have gone that are struggling at the moment. If I look at the US, for example, our routine is based around us all meeting at the pub and watching the game. Now, some of those pubs are going through, real difficulty. And they're struggling to survive. And I've seen, some of the US clubs in particular sort of, do auctions and raffles to raise money for the staff there to sort of try and, help a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see the connection between, that's the good thing. And I hope that out of all of this, I hope that this is what people take out of it going forward. Not just Evertonians, people in general, because there has been a bit more niceness, I think, amongst people of like coming together and like doing a little bit more for each other. And we've seen a lot of, I mean, you see it within your own neighbourhood, and people are,
Yeah,
you know, do you need anything from the shop and things like that.
yeah,
And I hope that that extends past this. I hope we don't all go back to just being worried about ourselves and everyone else can go to hell kind of thing, you know, as long as we're all right. I hope there's a little bit more empathy for everybody. But this is something I think the club have done really well within this. Ped's sister, you know, as a phone call from Moise Keane, you know, she's in
yeah. I
remission
saw that. Yeah,
from cancer. So the club had set that up, and we've seen Big Dunk and his messages to people, which has been fantastic as well. Seen Carlo Ancelotti having a phone
yeah,
call. So the club have done, I think they've done that brilliantly, really, with Everton in the community, the Blue Family thing. And then I've seen some stuff that's actually happened, like in America with phone calls and that. So, you know, I know obviously you live out there and you're on the fans forum. Did the fans forum have any kind of input into the club reaching out, part of the Blue Family, to those international fans as well, or was that just something the club did?
yeah. No, we did.
Okay.
We did have a role in that, and you know, I think you're right. It's been great to see sort of how people are connecting throughout all this, and yeah, we had a couple of conversations. You know, the club sort of spoke to us about, you know, about this and whether it was possible. And actually, you know, we saw that as a pretty good sign and a good signal that actually, you know, that broader recognition of sort of fans abroad,
Yeah.
you know, was happening within the club. So I think that's a good sign. I think something that we can definitely build on. But you know, it's had the same impact. I think that, you know, you talked about sort of Ped's sister, you know, and other people, you know, the impact it's had here, you know, with people that, you know, so there's been calls to sort of frontline responders, you know, paramedics, firefighters. There was a case of, you know, James Rogers in New York who he'd had to postpone his dad's funeral because of the pandemic. So he's out in New York, was trying to get back. They had to move it back, you know, and he got a phone call from Graham Sharp. Turns out his dad was a massive fan of Graham Sharp.
Oh.
So, you know, the impact that can have and how it then builds that connection, I think, to the club is absolutely massive. So, you know, that's been really good. So yeah, and you know, to be able to sort of play a part in that is great as well. And actually, the other thing is that, you know, it builds the connection that we're having with the supporters club. So, you know, the role that they played in helping us, you know, maybe work out who, you know, we'd love a call was also really important. So, so yeah, it gives us something to build on, Baz. So, you know, we want to keep that sort of spirit as you say. And I've started to pull together, you know, little WhatsApp groups of the supporters club leads so that we can sort of bounce ideas and, you know, complain and moan because we have Evertonians at the end of the day, you know, but also just, you know, keep that sort of connection and build a momentum going, because that's going to be so important.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, and it does have, you're right, it has a far-reaching thing. It touches people, you know, and especially the club making players making phone calls to people, you know, in like places like the United States and that. I mean, word gets around and they're impressed with that, and then other people jump on it as well then and go, you know, oh, that's a club that cares about the fans.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you know, and it's a time when we all should be doing a little bit more for each other anyway. So it's nice that the club are reaching out for to do that. Well, listen, before I let you go and carry on with your working day, because I know you're still working there. It's getting on tea time for me now, but I know you've still got hours left. Lucky you. Well, while you were in bed, I was working, so, you know, there you go. I want to come back to the survey, really, because I think just the conversation we've had, things are going off in my head all the time when we're talking about that, and you know, the fans survey is a great way for international fans to connect. But you still got time to fill that in, haven't you? Because is it next week?
Yeah.
Or something that it closes. So, I mean, what would you say to international supporters watching this now?
Well, look, first of all, like, we're listening. You know, the ears are open. We want to know what you think. We want to know what you think works. We want to know, more importantly, what you think doesn't work, so that we can take that on. So the survey is going to give us. It's really going to help us, you know, sort of understand that in a little bit more detail. So you're right. It runs until, it's going to be open until next Wednesday, so the 20th of May.
What a day that was. That's an anniversary of 25 years since we won the FA Cup that day as well. So there you go.
So there's no excuse. There's no excuse to not get it done by then. So yeah, you know, it's available through the supporters clubs. It's sort of on all the Facebook sites. You can DM the fans forum. if you're not a member of a club, DM us. We can send a link to you if that's your preferred way. All our contact details are there. So yeah, look, we want to hear from as many Blues overseas, that we can. The response so far has been great, but we want, as I say, we want more and more.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we want every Evertonian who is an international fan now for whatever reason, whether they're expats, whether work has taken them somewhere else or whatever, or whether they've just decided Everton is their club, to fill that in, don't you? Because you want as many views as possible, because then your sample size grows and you've got a handle on then what the real what the mean view is, haven't you, of those supporters? So definitely.
Yeah, doesn't take long. It doesn't take long, and also you can win a signed DCL shirt as well. So there's another little incentive for people there. And if people don't want to do the survey or whatever, then get in touch with us. If they want to drop me an email, tony.sampson@evertonfansforum.com, joe.o'reilly, same address. Get in touch. We want to hear from as many people as possible. So as I say, our ears are open, the doors are open, and we want to act on what we hear.
Is that just with anything? So is that with not necessarily? I'm not saying they should come to you with a list as long as their arm of things, but is that just with any little suggestion or anything like that? They can just email you and you can have a little chat maybe over email about where it goes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no sort of barrier there. I mean, there's some things obviously which are sort of direct club issues. I'll give you an example. Somebody wants to start up a supporters club. We can give advice on how it's work, but actually it's the club that will help them do that. So, but what we can do, if it isn't something for us to take on, we're more than happy to pass that on and have been. But again, anything else that people have got a view on or a comment or an idea, then feel free to get in touch.
Superb, mate. Superb. Anything else before I let you go? If there's anything I haven't, anything coming to mind from a meeting or anything that I haven't asked you that you think is important, or have we covered it all for now?
No. I think, look, it's been great. It's been nice. So thanks for letting us come back on again, and maybe we can keep you posted on what we hear back from the survey and sort of what we're going to do next.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, we'll make this a regular thing so that if people can't be bothered going on and reading all the minutes, then at least we get, we can get an update when you're on. You give us the meat off the bones, so to speak, is the meat on the bones when you come on and let us know what's happening. Obviously, people can listen to the podcast as well, which I think is really important if you're going to be discussing what was in meetings and stuff. I think that's a good way for people to just to whack it on while they're out for a walk or whatever, and hear what's getting discussed by the fans forum. Other than that, yeah, like I say, they can get their information by watching these videos with you updating us, which is always nice. So
very good.
Right, I'm going to let you go and get on with your work because
cheers, boys. Nice to talk to you again.
I'm going to do my daily exercise before I have my tea. So there you go. Listen, Tony, look after yourself, mate. Stay safe, and no doubt we will speak very soon. And you can give us the update on the survey and any of the other stuff that the fans forum are discussing. But lovely to chat to you, mate. Take care.
You too. Stay safe, mate.
Cheers, Tom. So big thanks there to Tony Sampson for coming on, chatting to us all the way from Chicago. Make sure you check out that fan survey if you are an international Blue and fill it in and get your points heard. And if you're an Evertonian that wants to know more about the fans forum, either listen to their podcast or go on the website. All the information there as well. We'll put a link in the description as well. Thanks for watching. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. And if you want more videos, join us on Patreon. See you later.